Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this 11th joint session of webinars with OECD and COLEAD. My name is José Brambila, and I'm the Program Manager of the OECD Fruit and Vegetable Scheme. And we have the honor and the pleasure to co-host these webinars with COLEAD. Before we start, some logistical notes. So this webinar is being recorded. We will have the presentations 10 minutes each at the beginning, and then at the end, we will have the questions and answers session. You can provide any questions through the chat, and we will try to answer all your questions at the end. If not, we'll try to follow up via email bilaterally with you. I will give the floor quickly to Jeremy. You can give some introductory remarks from COLEAD, please.
Thank you very much, José. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you joining us today from wherever you are. So on behalf of COLEAD, of course, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to this 11th session of the OECD COLEAD Fruit and Veg Industry Series. So this series is part of our ongoing collaboration with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And the essence, the spirit is really to better understand the transformations that are reshaping global fruit and veg markets, and to bring together diverse perspectives from policymakers, researchers, entrepreneurs, and development actors. And today's discussion is going to focus on one of the most decisive forces driving change in the sector, supermarkets and large retailers, shaping, of course, market dynamics, prices, and business models along the value chains. For producers and SMEs, integration into supermarket supply chains, of course, presents both opportunities and challenges. Part of today and part of the equation we want to solve all together is to try to maximize, of course, the opportunities and minimize and have the capacity to overcome the challenges part. And we believe that will require and requires to, of course, align the public policies, private incentives, and financial instruments. And to do this around some common goals, competitiveness, sustainability, inclusion. Now, if progress on these common goals is if we want it to be realistic, we also believe is that and lasting, we believe that it has to be economically viable for all actors. So from the small producers and MSMEs to also the largest retailers, of course. And these partnerships must create tangible value for both sides. Couple of points around the different types of stakeholders, of course. So on the governments and regional body part, we believe, of course, that they have an essential role to play in the transformation. Well-designed policy frameworks should reduce the overall transaction costs and encourage long-term investment in inclusive sourcing models. Development partners on their sides and financial institutions will also important in bridging the gap between some cases and policy ambitions and market realities. How? Well, by supporting investments in logistics, cold storage, digital traceability, and of course technical assistance, all that to help reduce supply chain risks and improve overall reliability for both sides of the value chain. Retailers themselves, of course, also can be powerful drivers of inclusive transformation. How? Well, by embedding inclusion into their core business models, by designing differentiated compliance pathways, establishing pre-financing mechanisms, and introducing incentives for sustainable practices. Apart from the actors themselves, digital innovation will also probably be a key enabler in this transformation. So data sharing platforms, supply chain observatories, digital marketplaces can all enhance transparency and open new channels for smaller suppliers. And on the other hand, we have also consumer-facing tools that can help building more trust, linking responsible sourcing to both brand value and customer loyalty. So basically, through coordinated action between governments, retailers, producers, and development partners, we really believe that the fruit and veg sector can evolve towards even a sector that is even more that is fairer, more resilient, that remains competitive, and that delivers really shared value from farm to fork. I'm delighted, of course, that today's session is going to be bringing a diverse group of experts and from policymakers, industry representatives to entrepreneurs from Africa and Europe. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your time, the panelists for being with us. I would like to thank you also all participants for being here with us and for following us throughout these series. And of course, again, to thank our colleagues at OECD and in particular, of course, José Brambila, for the continued partnership and commitment so far. So yes, I wish you a great session. Please don't hesitate to share your questions and to also follow up the conversation later through the AgriInnovators platform via the forum. Thank you, and looking forward to the discussion. Back to you, José.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Well, I forgot to mention that we have interpretation. So below you can choose English or French, so please do so. We divided our webinar today in two blocks. First, we will have like a more European and institutional perspective. We will be discussing with OECD and Freshfel. And in the second block, we will see more an African perspective from the point of view of market operators, mainly in Kenya and Ghana. So to start, I would like to introduce my colleagues Celine and Linette. We work both at OECD in the same directorate. And I'm really happy to have Celine here because she's one of our best experts in food systems. She's a policy analyst at OECD, and she conducts and leads the research on policies related to global food systems. This includes policies that encourage healthier and more sustainable food choices. She addresses gender inequality in food systems and aims to prevent and reduce food loss and waste. She's also responsible for the OECD Food Chain Analyst Network and an expert group in agro-food systems analysis. So Celine, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. So you're sharing my presentation?
Yes, we have it here.
Okay, perfect. Can you put it in presentation mode, please? And so my name is Celine Giner. I'm a policy analyst at the OECD, and I lead food systems work in the organization. And what I like to do is to give you a brief introduction to different topics we're covering that are of interest to your group. So we can move to the next slide. And you can click 3 times. Yeah. So as you may know, so at the OECD we're working on the full range of social, economic, and environmental challenges, and including food systems. And how we work is that we try to develop data. So we inform about what's happening across the world. We engage in influence, meaning we're talking to policymakers. We're bringing them together so that they can exchange ideas, and we are developing standards and providing policy support. If we move to the next slide, please. So today I'd like to present the work we're doing on food systems, and we framed the problem around the triple challenge that food systems are facing. So if you think about food systems, they need to provide food security and nutrition for a growing population. They need also to provide livelihoods to all people working along the agro-food supply chain. And they need to do so with respecting the environment, so taking into account environmental sustainability. So this is a very daunting triple challenge, and things are not black or white. Food systems do have important achievements, but they also have serious shortcomings. So we need to balance these different objectives. And what we've found through our work is that better policies can make a difference. So we can move to the next slide. So this is some background information on achieving healthy diets. So you know, obesity has become a widespread issue across OECD countries, but also across the world. And we can move to the next slide, where you will find information on the pressures on the environment. So if we move to the next slide, please. The important point to make is that coherent policies are needed and that there's no silver bullet. It would be nice if we knew exactly how to handle this difficult topic, but it's not the case. So we need to take into account synergies and trade-offs with other policy areas. And for example, we did a study where we looked at the impacts of aligning diets with WHO guidelines on sugar and fat consumption, and we could identify, you know, impacts and benefits on food security and environmental sustainability. We can move to the next slide. And I'd like now to provide some information on recent work we've conducted on food systems. And as you see, they are framed around these three main challenges. So we're working on environmental sustainability. We are interested in the measurement and the communication of the environmental impacts of food products in food systems. So, and at the moment, we're mostly working on carbon footprint. We're working on food loss and waste policies, as reducing food loss and waste would be an important way to improve the environmental sustainability of food systems. For the food security and nutrition challenge, we've been working on policies for encouraging healthier diets. And in particular, we looked at food labels for improved health outcomes. And we've been working also on food insecurity and food assistance programs across OECD countries. And then on the livelihood aspects, we were interested in market concentration, market power, and gender, so equal opportunities in food systems. All around that, we're also working on resilient food systems and on consumers' behavior, which I think might be a topic of interest to you. We can move to the next slide. And how do we work? As I told you, we're working with countries. So we use a network of experts to bring in policymakers and private sector stakeholders. This group has been working on food labels, so from a nutritional point of view and an environmental point of view. And right now we're working on food loss and waste. If you're interested in the issue, don't hesitate to contact me, as I could provide more information, because we have some meetings coming up, and one meeting will take place on the 13th and 14th of November with a focus on the challenges related to the evaluation of the food loss and waste reduction strategies. We can move to the next slide. And next, yeah. And so briefly here, I'd like to introduce our approach for looking at how to encourage healthier and more sustainable food choices. Governments can use a set of policy instruments, and we have classified them around a four-track approach. The first track relate to demand side interventions, and it's mostly about providing information to consumers. Could be through nutritional guidelines, for example. The second track is about public-private collaboration. So it could be voluntary agreement for the industry to reduce, let's say, the salt content of bread. It could be about the development of public-private labels to identify the sustainability or the nutritional aspects of food products. Third track is about stricter regulations when certain practices are banned. So let's say for encouraging healthier food choices, well, the publicity of unhealthy products, super processed products can be banned. And the fourth track relates to fiscal measures. So this is about either taxing or providing subsidies for encouraging healthier and more sustainable food choices. Please, next slide. And we worked, and I invite you to look at, to read our reports on developing food labels for improved health outcomes. We worked on simplified nutrition labeling policies. And why did we do that? Well, because we're seeing a fragmentation of approaches across OECD countries, where different types of labels have been developed by governments, sometimes in collaboration with the industry and the research area, to provide information on the front of pack of food products, on the nutritional content of the product. So you may know in Europe the Nutri-Score, in other parts of the world, like in Australia and New Zealand, they have the Health Star rating system. In South America, they use a black label similar to what you would see on a tobacco product. And from these different approaches, we try to identify what could be done better and how governments can develop efficient policies. And we were particularly interested in the policy process and showcasing the need for engagement with stakeholders and with civil society to develop tools, labels that would be actually taken, so used by consumer, and that the uptake from stakeholders would be high. We can move to the next slide. Now we let me give you a little bit of insights on the work we're doing about the measurement and the communication of the carbon footprint of food products. And next, please. I think we don't have enough time to go into the details of all these slides, but it would be interesting for you to get them. As you know, food products differ strongly in terms of the average carbon footprint. So from, bovine meat has a high carbon footprint, and fruits and veg production has a very low one. We can move to the next one. But in fact, we're seeing enormous variability across producers. Then next. You can move to the next slide. And we have identified 3 levers to reduce the carbon footprint of food systems. One would be for people to shift to lower emission product categories. So you replace bovine meat consumption by lentils, for example. Second possibility would be to shift to lower emission producers. So if you have a way to signal which producers have a bit lower carbon emissions, well, for example, you would switch to the milk with lower carbon emissions. And then the third possibility is to shift to lower emission techniques. So basically, you're improving the techniques of food production. So we can move to the next slide. And click several times, 3 times. so basically, this would be about, and next, you can click one more time. Yeah, so, and the third level would be to improve the production techniques. We can move to the next slide. And you can, so here we're doing a bit of publicity on our work, so I invite you to look at our recent reports. I think I will skip this part on food loss and waste policies. So we can just, yeah, please click. And that one as well, move to the next one. Yeah. And now let me give you a bit of information on the work we've done on consumers' behavior. So, so I'm working in the Trade and Agriculture Directorate, and we had a collaboration with the OECD Environment Directorate, and we were interested in understanding how to green households' behavior with respect to food consumption. So if you click to the next slide. So we undertook a survey, not only on food, on the food domains. There were other domains covered as well in 9 countries with about 9,000 respondents. If we move to the next slide. And this slide is quite interesting. So we tried to classify households' profiles in food consumption habits, and we were able to identify, using a Latin class analysis, 3 main classes of consumers. So, so about 1/4 of the people in our survey are price sensitive. That means that their food choices are mostly dictated by prices. They have a low meat consumption, and they do not buy a lot of products perceived as responsible. So let's say products with certain types of labels like organic or local or so on. So these people have a relatively sustainable diet because of their low meat consumption. Then about 40% of the people are frequent meat purchasers. So they have a high meat consumption. Often they have a low they don't really know more about environmental sustainability and climate change, they eat a lot of meat, and this could be related to cultural reasons. And then we have about a third of people who are environmentally minded. So these people are very aware of climate change and issues related to environmental sustainability. They are often quite educated, they have higher income, they live in cities. And despite the fact that they are environmentally minded, they have a relatively high consumption of meat. They buy regularly products with so organic products or local products or so on, but their diet is not as sustainable as you would think. So it's an interesting case for policy thinking, where how do you influence more sustainable purchases in these different groups, where it's probably different sets of policies that needs to be used. We can move to the next slide. And move to the next slide, please. So next, we worked recently on simplified environmental labeling schemes, where we're seeing also a fragmentation of approaches across countries, with more and more labels being developed to somehow provide information on the environmental sustainability of food products at the front of pack. So this is very new, and all of them try to provide information on aggregated environmental outcomes. So it's difficult which type of impacts should you focus on, and they all are based on an established measurement method, which obviously is different across schemes. You can move to the next slide. And how can these labels be used to influence consumer food choices? Well, first, they can help people make more informed food choices in the supermarket. So it will be about this shifting between categories or among categories. A very important thing is that they can provide incentives for producers to shift to more sustainable practices. Problem is that to do that, you need information on the actual, not the average environmental impacts. And this is complicated. And right now we're developing work at the OECD on this question of how do you measure the actual environmental carbon footprint of food products. We can move to the next slide. And we've developed a policy brief to showcase what policymakers can do in relation to simplified environmental labeling schemes. And really what we want to avoid is inconsistencies and incoherence across countries. We call on the development of a reliable and widespread evidence base to underpin the messages that are conveyed. And we're also calling for more experiments to study how consumers understand and use these types of labels, especially as some other labels are provided already on health and on other aspects. And we also want experiments to study how producers can be incentivized towards more sustainable practices. We can move to the next slide. So I'll stop here for today. If you want to know more about the work we're doing on food systems at the OECD, on consumers' behavior, on environmental sustainability, please reach out. I'll be happy to provide more information. And I'll stop by saying that I know that you want to discuss the role of retailers today. And what we found from our work is that retailers appear to be a catalyst for change in developed countries, where, for example, when we looked at simplified nutritional and simplified environmental sustainability labels, the retailers were at the forefront of action and really pushing for change. So it's very interesting to see that they can they provide the food products to consumers, but they also incentivize changes by food producers. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Celine. Very interesting presentation. As Celine said, you can contact her. We will circulate the presentation afterwards for those who are interested. And again, you can reach directly to Celine if you have questions about OECD's work on food systems. Now we move to Freshfel Europe. So we are really happy to have Freshfel with us. We have Sarah Breitburd. She is Trade Policy Advisor for Freshfel. Sorry. Okay. I was saying that Sarah is a Trade Policy Advisor for Freshfel Europe. And she focuses mainly on market access issues, import requirements, and logistics matters. And in parallel, she also follows FTA negotiations, WTO developments, and exchanges within the single market. And prior to working with Freshfel, she did a blue book in DG Trade in the European Commission. She studied European economics at the College of Europe in Bruges and holds a dual degree in business management and administration from EDEC Business School and the University of Alberta. So Sarah, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for the invitation to join this panel. I'm very happy to be here to discuss about this very important topic for the fresh fruit and vegetable sectors. Today, I will be trying to showcase how market dynamics are currently moving around for the fresh produce sector, but by looking at aspects more related to supermarkets and big retailers, but also how it links to the current trade and policy climate. Next slide, please. So as a short introduction, for those who might not know us, Freshfel Europe represents the European fresh fruit and vegetable sector in Brussels. We have the particularity of having both companies and associations in our membership, and to be a vertical association with actors of the entire supply chain from production down to retail. We work on joint projects and advocate on key policies relevant to all the segments of this supply chain. The main goal is to encourage the consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables to reach the health guidelines given by international organizations, and to promote fresh produce as part of the solution to various societal concerns. Next slide, please. So today, the European fruit and vegetable sector represents a production of 75 million tons. The vast majority of it will be consumed locally. 30 million tons will travel through the single market. A smaller share will be exported to third countries. But more importantly, the EU is the world's single largest importer of fresh fruit and vegetables, with 60 million tons in 2024. For a market of 450 million consumers. Those imports are growing steadily with 3% year-on-year for volume and 11.13% for value, reaching 20.23 billion euros last year. This shows that trade is extremely important for the sector in order to secure a diversified assortment year-round, and therefore clear rules are a must for everyone. To zoom in briefly on the ACP countries, the EU imported 2.5 million tons of fresh produce, or around 15% of all imports, with a relatively low amount of alerts for the volume considered. However, these alerts just serve to show quickly that fresh produce is first and foremost subject to legislative scrutiny, on top of which we can add the societal one. Confidence really is key between partners in order to get both right. This is especially important when we consider that around 80% of imported fruit and vegetables are then sold in supermarkets in the EU. This highlights strongly the relevance of both import market access rules and supermarkets' demands, which are often linked to wider customer requirements, which can concern several topics such as pesticide, wages, seasonality, or in some cases the opposite. Next slide, please. But it is equally important to highlight that both market access rules and consumer requirements are evolving in a changing world. On the one hand, we have a dual responsibility that can be split as follows. So first of all, a sound production and a safe trade. Traded products need to be safe from a plant health perspective and respect EU production rules. Otherwise, they cannot be imported or sold. But they also need to be safe from a food safety perspective. Otherwise, there is no trust in the products by the consumers. And then respect customers and consumers' demands. This means making sure that the supermarket shelves are full year-round with a wide diversity of fresh produce to satisfy their demands and expectations, but at the same time have answers for environmental, societal, and economic demands and concerns of consumers. This contributes to bring on a dual challenge, first producing in a changing world. So climate change is already having a very real impact on yield, growing conditions, pests, and other diseases. On top of which, geopolitical shifts affect trade routes, thus creating trade diversions and upending trade rules as we know them. These changes result in evolving demands from the regulators, speed up towards climate neutrality through wide-ranging regulations, for example, the PPWR, the Deforestation Regulation, CSRD, and C3DD, while at the same time call for simplification and less red tape. So those are what we call the omnibus regulations, both of which have an impact on the entire supply chain, but can prompt even stricter demands to ensure compliance. The combination of both creates a lack of clarity, but maybe also a possible opportunity to rebalance a discussion that until now focused primarily on the environmental pillar of sustainable development towards the other two, especially the economic one. It also opens the door to creating added value and incentives for producers, search for equivalence, and certification harmonization. Next slide, please. So looking at the concrete challenges that emerge for fresh produce as a consequence of these dynamics, we can see it's a question of adapting to several elements. So first, sometimes a form of policy incoherence from regulatory bodies that will have overlapping requirements and no overlapping of audits or checks. Multiple approaches from multiple actors. First of all, businesses, among which supermarkets and retailers play, of course, a huge part. NGOs, certification bodies, etc. They might add on to already strict regulatory demands. Sometimes they can be complementary, such as markets or supermarkets relying on certifications given by NGOs, and sometimes they are not. As of today, we often witness both a top-down approach from regulators and a bottom-up approach from consumers via supermarkets that concern the three sustainability pillars and how to balance them. And in the middle, so to speak, you find fruit and vegetables. These elements will combine to create an important administrative burden, which will end up creating delays, food waste, etc., which is especially relevant when you consider that fresh produce has a very short timeline. Another consequence of all these elements can be an increase in the costs of production, which then will come closer to hitting some sort of a ceiling created by price caps or by low prices for different products. So bananas especially come to mind when it comes to the European market. And those price caps exist in part because fruit and vegetables are often used as a hook in supermarkets to attract customers in, and in part because creating the impression that fresh fruit and vegetables are expensive plays into an already existing sensitivity on the customer's side. And while we know fruit and vegetables are not an expensive product and have already very tight margins, the sensitivity has so far been proven with every rise in prices or rise in inflation. But as we have seen on the first slide, consumption is already not high enough in Europe, which is essential, if only because consumption is what ultimately drives sales. Next slide, please. And so at this stage, it seems that fresh fruit and vegetables are pulled between two driving forces for market dynamics in the European Union, regulations on one side and supermarket demands on the other. It creates tensions and difficulties for all stakeholders of the supply chain, with the final goal of supplying safe, healthy, and good produce that will align with customer demands and concerns, the latter being translated into supermarket or retailer demands. But ideally, in order to shape a fresh produce market that answers all of those demands and ultimately helps driving trade and consumption, we can highlight some opportunities for cooperation for the supply chain. I will not go into details for all of them, but the most important ones can be considered to be the following. Information sharing and transparency between the different stakeholders of the supply chain, creating trust and understanding about constraints for trade and production on one hand, and satisfying customer requirements on the other. Finding a way of satisfying both, building together a positive image for fruit and vegetables that regulators and consumers can rely on. Then creating the right toolboxes. They will be needed for addressing climate change, for balancing this imperative with other concerns like fair trade, fair wages, working conditions, etc., that are often expressed by the consumers. These tools will need to be flexible and adaptable, so this really requires creating them together and in as close cooperation as possible. And then finally, when it comes to compliance, innovation, or reporting, they can be a good forum to exchange, discuss, and understand what it means concretely for different stakeholders at different steps of the supply chain to comply with them, and also what they need for this compliance. So to conclude this presentation, I would say that the best path forward is still increased cooperation between the different stakeholders to ensure good production conditions and trading practices, but also to encourage consumers to move towards a healthier, conscious, and more plant-based diet. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Freshfel. So now we will move to the perspective on the African side. So I will give the floor to Linette Wawira. She is the founder and managing director of Jiwa Farm Export Limited, a Kenyan agribusiness specialized in the production, processing, and export of fresh fruits and vegetables and herbs. And under her leadership, Jiwa Farm has evolved from a small local operation into a global GAP certified exporter, supplying both local and international markets. She's passionate about innovation and women's empowerment in agribusiness, and Linette promotes sustainable farming practices, quality compliance, and inclusive value chains that connect small producers to high-value retail and export markets. So, Linette, thank you for being with us. The floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Linette, as you've heard, and I'm here representing Africa and specifically Kenya. Ima, could you kindly close the next presentation? Jiwa Farm Limited is a Kenyan agribusiness company specializing in the production and export of premium quality fresh produce. Our main crop include Asian vegetables, French beans, sugar snaps, snow peas, butternuts, and onions. we are committed to providing fresh, safe, and sustainability grown products that meet the highest international standards and timely to clients. Briefly about that is Jiwa was formed during the COVID time when we were under lockdown, and we started with a very small grocery where we would be supplying to home because now everything was under lockdown. So we started as a local supply of fresh produce to our local markets, and then also we saw the demand is growing, and the business is growing gradually, and that's when we opted to try out the export business to other countries. So during 2023, we started establishing our own farms and getting to know about how the export market works and joining so many trainings, one of them including these ones. So it's a pleasure to introduce Jiwa to the world through COLEAD as well. Next slide, Yeah, our journey started from local supply, as I said, to global exporter. We started with a small-scale supply of organic products serving local markets and retailers. We focused on quality and consistency, which helps build trust and repeated business. In 2021, I attended the Trade Expo in Nairobi, where I met international buyers interested in Kenyan superfoods. That was the moment I realized the global potential of my products. First, we invested in export certification, upgraded our packaging to meet international standards, and partnered with Freight Forward to streamline logistics as well. Today, we are proud to export to our clients, mainly United Kingdom, with growing international footprint, although we want to grow also to the Europe market as we continue to grow in this journey. Our consistency in quality, food safety, and reliability build lasting relationship with export clients. I'll proudly say that currently we are also doing part of Europe, which is Norway and Switzerland. So it's also a growth we are seeing on our end. Next, Nima. We have worked with the United Kingdom market, and one of our clients is the supermarket. So working with supermarket and export buyers has been a transformative experience for the company. The buyers demand high standards for quality, definitely, and consistency and traceability, which has required the company to adopt more sophisticated operational practices. Such as meeting these standards has influenced every aspect of the business from production to delivery. In terms of cost, ensuring compliance with certifications and implementing strict hygiene and safety measures has led to higher investments in farm management, staff training, infrastructure. However, these investments have been essential to maintain access to lucrative local and international markets. Also, on the side of pricing, strategies have also been affected as products that meet high standards often command better prices in the supermarkets and export markets, allowing the company to balance the increased operational costs. On the part of packaging, we have undergone a significant transformation to satisfy retailer requirements and extend shelf life for exports. Jiwa has invested in innovative, protective, and sustainable packaging solutions. Pre-packed and branded options have become necessary to meet both consumer and expectations and the retailer specifications. So on this side, we say that the packaging is everything, and what you produce there and what is seen in the supermarket is what will attract your products being bought in the supermarket. So we have gone ahead and done the branding of the boxes according to the client specifications, and also ensuring that the quality of the boxes is of the high notch, so that when the produce reach on the other side of the market, the produce looks presentable. Overall, work with supermarket and export buyers has driven GeoFarm Limited to elevate its operational standards, become more efficient, and adopt best practices across production, packaging, and logistics. These improvements have not only allowed the company to meet the buyer's requirements, but have also strengthened its competitive in both local and global. Of course, we have been able to face challenges here and there. Number one, despite the growth and success achieved, the company faces several challenges in its operation. Some of the primary challenges are high cost of compliance. Definitely, we know before you export to the European market, you have to be very, very compliant. And with supermarket and export standard certifications, quality control measures and upgraded packaging solutions require continuous investment, which can strain financial resources, especially for smaller scale operations. You understand that before you export to the European market, you need global gap certification, you need SEDEX, you need so many documents, so many certifications for you to fit in the market, and that's one of the challenges that is maybe scaring most of the people to enter in the export business, because of the certifications can be really high and expensive. Price pressure from large buyers who often negotiate for lower costs while expecting consistently high quality produce. This puts pressure on profit margins and require careful balancing between cost management and quality maintenance. You find that you're not alone who is supplying to a particular supermarket or a particular buyer, so we are all competing in getting into the market. So on the side of prices, sometimes it can become a hassle for you to get a deal in that supermarket. But once you have, what I always say is, once you have a quality product and the client has seen that Jiwa is producing quality products, that's what puts you on the top of the rest. So I would urge everyone to ensure that whatever we are producing in the market is of high quality for us to beat the market. Logistics and supply chain management also present ongoing challenges. Maintaining a reliable cold chain for export, ensuring timely deliveries, and minimizing post-harvest losses demand constant monitoring. Invest in technology and coordination with transport partners. On this, I would not be wrong to say, especially from our side here in Kenya, the cost of freight rate is quite high compared to other countries like Uganda and Tanzania. So you find a client who, yes, would be willing to buy your product with better prices, but now when he or she considers the cost of freight, it becomes expensive on their end. And now with that, this one has also led us into opening our own logistics company, whereby we'll be getting the direct rates from the airline, and we are able to support our clients with getting the better rates instead of using an extra agent. So with that, we have seen a growth of getting more clients, because we are also ensuring that the freight rate is quite affordable from our end. So that's what has also made Jiwa to scale high, since we are also able to support our clients with the best rates in the market. These are limited access to reliable freight forwarders. Yes, as I have said, there are not so many freight forwarders here in Kenya. Yes, there are, but high shipping costs, risk of product damage, and delays in transit are some of the challenges we are facing. So with that also, these are also some of the things that made us also have our own logistic company, for us to be able to have one program, from farming to packing to being the freight forwarder, and now pushing our business to the other end. So the clients only get involved in the clearance on the other side of the country. So we do everything for our client, from farming to packing to delivering to ensuring that the produce has been airlifted, or it has gone with or it has been airlifted. So with that also, the clients see Jiwa as a reliable company to work with. Okay, by addressing these challenges, there was one that Sorry.
Hello, Linette is muted. I think we might have trouble with the connection. Linette,
Connected.
you're muted.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Okay, perfect. You're back now. Good.
Yeah, I am back.
Please continue.
By addressing these challenges strategically, Jiwa Limited is positioning itself for sustainable growth, stronger market presence, and long-term business in both local and international markets. What are the next steps that we are doing? We are expanding production, invest in renewable energies and irrigation system, diversify export destinations, upgrade cold storage, and strengthening buyer partnership. We're also looking at investing in technology and automation, enhancing farm management systems, quality tracking, and supply chain efficiency. By streamlining logistics and adopting modern tools, the company aims to maintain consistent quality while reducing operational inefficiency. Expanding market reach, the company intends to explore new domestic and international markets, diversify its customer base, and strengthen relationships with existing export partners. As I've said, we are also looking for more business from the Europe side because now we are more of in the UK market. But as I said, we have also started getting more engagement from we are shipping now to Norway and Switzerland, and also we are getting more inquiries from Netherlands and Poland. We are hoping to get to more markets like Germany and Italy and the rest. We also want to enhance value-added offerings, develop prepackaged products catering to evolve consumer preference and premium market segments. Maintaining high standards of quality and compliance will remain a focus, with continuous staff training and upgrades to certifications such as Global Gap, ensuring that all products meet both local and international requirements. Optimizing logistics and the cold chain will be essential to preserve freshness and minimize post-harvest losses. Investments in refrigerated transport, efficient delivery scheduling, and proper storage facility will support timely delivery to international markets. Finally, Jiwa Export Limited will continue to prioritize sustainability and innovation, adopting eco-friendly farming practices, exploring new techniques to increase efficiency, and staying ahead of consumer trends. By implementing these strategic steps, the company is positioning itself for long-term success, delivering high-quality produce while expanding its presence in both local and international markets. Our vision and values. Our vision is to be the leading exporter of high-quality Kenyan produce, promoting sustainable farming and empowering local farmers through global markets. We are committed to quality and freshness, sustainable agricultural practices, integrity and transparency, partnership and community empowerment. For more information, you can contact us. The contacts are on the screen, and also for our logistic company, it's called Green Rice Air Cargo Limited. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Linette, for the presentation. We continue now with Ghana. We are going to speak now to Eugenia Boafo, New Product Development Lead at HPW Fresh and Dry Ltd, the largest dried fruit producer in Ghana. She has experience in airline catering business, having worked in the Quality Assurance Department of New Rest Ghana for 5 years. Eugenia's educational background is in consumer science, food quality management, having completed her master's program and also done courses in food safety, HACCP, and ISO. Eugenia, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. So, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this all-important session. As a form of introduction, I work with HPW Ghana, which is the largest producer of dried fruits in West Africa. I have a small cold, and so I'm in the lab. I have to put on my nose mask, so I'll go off camera to continue. Yeah. So at HPW, we supply natural dried fruit snacks to supermarkets in Europe, in the United States, in Australia. And please, can you move the slide? Hello? Please, hello?
Yes, I hear you. Can the colleagues
Okay.
please move the slide,
Okay.
please?
Yes.
They're having some technical. There it is.
Okay. All right. So at HPW, we supply certified natural dried fruits, supermarkets in Europe, in United States, in Australia, and some part of Middle East and Asia. Through this work, we see every day how retail decisions shape products, prices, and the lives of all those behind the supply chain. Today, I'd like to share with you a brief but practical view from the origin on how we deliver what retailers expect, and then what it takes behind the scenes, and how fair partnerships help the entire chain to grow stronger. With that said, let's see how supermarkets shape our industries today. So, supermarkets are the main gatekeepers in the fruit and snack industry. If a product is not accepted by a retailer, consumers will never have the chance to see it, let alone buy it, no matter how good it is. And then shelf space is also very powerful in this discussion, in that when we have something like our dried mango or pineapple placed at eye level, people see it, and when they like it or it appeals to them, they buy it. But when it is hidden, demand disappears, and that particular product struggles. Retailers also expect products to be available all year round. Even though products like fruits and vegetables are seasonal, this puts a lot of pressure on us as suppliers to plan very well and to absorb risks. So retail power or decisions really affects market access, demand, and pricing all at once. Please, let's move to the next slide. So at HPW, we have built strong systems to meet these expectations I just discussed. We process 45,000 tons of fresh fruits and export 4,500 tons of dried fruit snacks every year. Our products are all certified under BRC and IFS for food safety. And then we offer clean label. All our products are 100% fruit, natural fruits with no additives. And because retailers want to know exactly where the fruits are coming, we provide full traceability from the farmers through processing all the way to the supermarket shelf. We also protect the quality of our products using temperature-controlled logistics and detailed planning, so retailers do not experience stockouts. In simple terms, retailers trust us to deliver on safety, on quality, consistency, and then on time. Let's move to the next slide, please. So, for every supermarket order we receive as a company, it creates real impacts. Over 2,000 permanent and then 3,000 seasonal workers. And then thousands of farming families with stable food demand. We also operate a Montessori school which was funded by HPW with assistance from Fairtrade. And in there, we provide affordable education for most of our workers' children and then the community. And the Montessori also serves as a safe crèche for our nursing mothers, where they have the opportunity to breastfeed their babies during break hours. We are also able to provide more healthy snack options for consumers. These benefits exist because value is added in Ghana and not exported away as raw fruits. So when retailers choose HPW or African suppliers, they are not choosing a product, they are choosing progress, dignity, and a better future for families. Please, let's move to the next slide. So to keep all these benefits I just shared going, we must invest continuously in food safety and ethical audits, training workers to keep high quality every day, cold chain logistics to protect the fruit from Ghana to the shelf, sustainability improvements like energy and waste management. These are all good investments, I believe you agree with me, that protect consumers, farmers, and the planet. But they also increase the cost of doing business. Suppliers who deliver the most positive impact often carry the most pressure. Our last slide, please. So, for supermarkets to have secure and sustainable supply, suppliers must stay strong and be able to invest. We believe in long-term partnerships as a company, fair and transparent pricing, shared support for sustainability and technology, simpler and aligned standards across retailers. When value is shared fairly, everyone grows together, from the farm to the retailer to the consumer. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So with this, we end our session with the experts. We will move now to the questions and answer session. Celine, the first speaker from OECD, had to leave the webinar. So I know there were some questions for her in the chat. I think she did answer one or two of the questions, and she provided her email. So you have her email in the chat. And she provided a link to more OECD work. So if you are interested, you can follow up bilaterally with Celine. So you have her email and more links to her work, OECD work, in the chat. So we will move to Sarah from Freshfel. I have a question that I got for you, Sarah. So the question is, how does Freshfel envision the role that carbon markets could play for the fruit and vegetable sector? And could this carbon market become an incentive for adopting more sustainable practices?
So I'm assuming they're referring to the carbon pricing market in the European Union. So as of now, fruit and vegetables are not directly impacted by it in the sense that it covers only certain sectors. But on a more general basis, I would say that fruit and vegetables can definitely benefit from their image as being, you know, a very low emission produce, both in terms of production, in terms of transport, in terms of consumption afterwards. So for example, we are also working on how to create carbon footprint calculation methods for fresh fruit and vegetables that would serve to show that, especially compared to other commodities such as meat or dairy, they really have a good positioning, and hopefully then this can be used as a good example, as a good marketing argument in favor of fresh fruit and vegetables. So when it comes to the carbon pricing market itself, the direct link is more difficult to establish, but there is definitely an argument to be made in favor of fresh fruit and vegetables. And if you take, for example, the labeling that Celine was mentioning earlier, so the Nutri-Score in Europe, for example, which is the one that most of us know, fresh fruit and vegetables are always an A, even an A+. So I think there's definitely something to be used there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So now we move to Linette. Linette, I have a question for you in the audience. And I think you mentioned a little bit, but well, do you face any challenges when exporting fresh foods to the European Union? And what are the main logistics and freight challenges you face when shipping your products to the EU? And if it's not too confidential, could you share what kind of feedback or common issues your clients raise upon the arrival of your products to Europe? Linette?
The main, definitely the main challenge that we are facing is the number one is the air freight, especially on this side of Africa. The air freight is very expensive. You find a kilo of vegetable, you can be charged up to $2.4 to up to $3 for the herbs and flowers to for the 1 kilo. When you compare with that, freight rate is quite expensive for the client. So you find the client will have to lower your prices so that he can be able to accommodate the air freight. And the reason is that, and with that, we capped this problem by now having our own logistics company, whereby we are not like it's not more of a profitable business per se, like the ones the clearing agent are offering, as we are supporting our client using the logistic company. So we are able to get the good rates from the airline directly instead of using a third party to book the spaces for our client. So air freight is very expensive. That is one of the big challenges that we are facing. Another thing on this side of Africa, we can also get drought. So ensuring the farms are well equipped and also the produce is of good quality. It can be quite costly, but we also, as I said, we are moving in the sustainability in the systems whereby we can have those products that can do well in greenhouses and shade nets. We are doing that to reduce the cost of also of watering, because also the energy here in Kenya is also quite high. On the other part is also on this side now of Kenya, regular audits and traceability systems, staff training is a bit costly. For you to meet the quality and compliance of the export, you need to have your staff being trained regularly by the authorities and by the authorities. On the other end is now shift to branded and barcode boxes. Right now, the cost of production is also has gone high, but we are also trying to see how we can work on it, but we don't want to compromise on anything of quality. That's why we want to increase more of our clientele based so that we're able also to meet the demands of the client by now getting the profit that we'll get from what we are selling. We're able also to improve on this other side. But apart from that, those are the main major challenges. And then also certifications, José, it can be a bit high, but also the good thing it is it's once the farm has been certified, the certification can last for a year. So at least that's also something we can also we're also getting to know how to do about it. The other thing is on the pricing, at least the clients are coming up and they're understanding that the cost of production is a bit high, and they're also willing to support on that. So they're not like they are really understanding on that. So on our end, we are ensuring that we get a good we give them the quality, and so that they can continue also giving us businesses on a regular basis.
Thank you very much, Linette.
Yeah.
We have other questions for you, but I'm going to move quickly to Eugenia, and then if we
Okay.
have time, we go back to you as well. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now, Eugenia, I'm moving to you. We have one question. Based on your journey with retailers, what kind of change from buyers, governments, or support programs will make it easier for African small, medium enterprises and farmers to integrate into supermarket supply chains and stay competitive? Again, with your experience, what do you think? Buyers, governments, or what type of support programs will make it easier for small farmers to integrate into the supply chain and supermarkets?
Yes, thank you. So I think our biggest challenge has been matching the very high standards while still operating on fair and sustainable margins. So if they are able to look at reducing the cost involved in quality systems, in traceability, cold storage chain logistics, and then I'm sure we'll go far. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugenia. Okay, then we move back to Linette. So we have another question for you. No, sorry. Eugenia, I stay with you. I have one more question for you. And it's, what do you mean by joint investment to boost sustainability? You could clarify a little bit more what you intend by joint investment.
Yes, so with supports from governments, from agencies, we'll be able to acquire or engage in more sustainable programs. When you come to HPW, we reuse all our natural wastes to generate heat. And then we are also able to recycle our water to reuse them. We have dams. And so if we get support in all these sustainable models, then it will help us a lot to progress and then affect more lives. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now I go back to Linette. So Linette, one of the questions that we have for you from the audience is how do you manage the high costs due to compliance, especially when you're exporting to EU markets?
Honestly, I'll say it is not easy, but I do it gradually. I cannot wake up and say I'll be compliant throughout the in one day. So if it's on a side of global gap, you maybe say, because it's one of the main apart from the rest now, you work first with what is the main certification. So on our end, we started with the global gap and grasp, and then now we are also moving on to the rest, like the SEDEX and the organic ones. So we have not yet reached into fully certified, fully 100%, but we move bit by bit, because it is not easy to be compliant 101%. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Linette. There's one last question for you, and it's regarding your packaging and branding. Some members of the audience are very interested in your packaging and branding, and they were asking, it's not clear the question, if you can share some pictures, I think. That's what they were saying. Or well, if you can tell us how they can reach to you, and if you can provide more information on the way you do packaging and branding for them.
Okay, on the side of packaging and branding, each client has its own specification. So what we normally do, we have companies that do they produce the boxes here in Kenya. So you go with the specification of getting now you pay an extra cost of branding. So you brand for the client according to their color code, barcode, and everything. So that's so what we did is sometimes we talk to the client, and some clients they pay partly.
they pay partly of the origination. Then now we keep on so because once its origination is once in a lifetime, you don't have to do it on every time you're doing the production of the boxes. So we reached out to the suppliers of our packaging. They did the origination of each client's specification. Then now from there, they work with that to produce their boxes for each specific client. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you.
I check with Ahoefa if you are ready for the last section, in conclusions and way forward.
Okay, so I'll do this in French then. Thank you very much to all the panelists. Thank you to all participants. Today's session was very important, showing to what extent distribution plays a very, very important role in the fruit and vegetables industry, or the fruit and vegetable value chain, with the, let's say, the way they influence, let's say, all participants throughout the value chain. They have a very, very big, let's say, power in this value chain. So from suppliers to consumers, they and so well, there are a certain number of challenges obviously that need to be taken into account, and that will let's say have let's say, yeah, their impact on the various stakeholders. But the idea is to encourage and incite producers to move towards let's say move down the path of progress, certification being one aspect of this. But the partnership is so important. Everyone needs to work together. Sarah talked about this, or reminded us about this in her presentation. She talked about how important this partnership is, and how the evolution in the various, let's say, aspects and areas play a very, very big role in strengthening the sustainability of this value chain.
Investment, innovation are key in order to convince the buyers, but also the different stakeholders on the market. So we were able to listen to those different contributions, and they mentioned also the drawbacks, but also benefits of such a partnerships. So we need, of course, to focus on costs. And today, again, when we are looking ahead, we want to include our partners in the value creation chain. We want all players, all stakeholders to be involved, whether small or larger, in order to reap the fruits. We need to do that to promote long-term contracts. We need to strengthen our infrastructures from a logistics standpoint, and transparency need to be one of the keywords as well. So I wanted to thank all the speakers of this session very warmly. We would like to thank them for the time they took to present this at the end of the year. I know they are very busy, so thank you very much to share with us. I think it made for a very interesting session. Thank you to all the participants, all of you who decided to join today. I know you came in high number. And thank you as well to the OECD. We have a very nice partnership since 2022 with OECD. It's a very fruitful collaboration. And this, I think, is to the benefit of the fruits and vegetable industry. I'd like to thank all my colleagues working in the back office, everybody who made this session possible, and they contributed to the success of this session. I think José mentioned this at the beginning. This was yet another installment on fruit and vegetables, but this is the last webinar for this year. So, of course, we do invite you to continue and follow us on the different platforms. You will find all our resources pertaining to this session, to previous sessions, things that we've done throughout the year, but also in the previous years. And so, well, yes, do keep in touch so that you are informed of what we're doing. And we'll be delighted to see you again at the beginning of next year with the same sort of session. And we are thankful for all the initiatives. We want to continue this collaboration. We want together to find sustainable solutions for this industry. With that, I think I'll stop here. And I don't want to be too long. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ahoefa. Well, as you already mentioned, we organize this with COLEAD with the hope that this is useful for all of you that attend here, that you can learn new things, that you can try to find solutions to the challenges that you are facing as producers or as traders of fruit and vegetables. Like Ahoefa, I would like to thank all our experts. They took the time to attend this webinar and share with us their experience. I would like to thank Celine, of course, Sarah, Linette, and Eugenia for being here with us today. I would like to thank, of course, Jeremy, Ahoefa, Nina, and all the COLEAD team for the excellent work preparing and organizing these webinars. To the interpreters, I know it's not easy for them and for us, and hopefully it works for all of you. So the interpreters who do all the work for the English and the French. I think in the chat you saw the link where you can go and download the presentations. They're not there yet. They will be available in the next days. But in general, join Ahoefa and encouraging you to still attend our webinars in the future. We'll have more interesting topics for you in the next months. And well, thanks to everybody for attending this webinar. And I think we can close the event here. So thank you very much. Take care. And until the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.